All right. Cool. Hello.
Hello.
We're here. We made it. We are a fully operational battle station. We are cool, calm, and collected. No one has spilled any coffee. I've definitely got two monitors because I didn't trip over the cable for my laptop
Oh no.
and fully dismantled my entire desk earlier. And we're all good. We're a little bit behind time, but yeah, we're good to go. Hello, welcome everyone. I This is the first episode for what I think we're calling Weirdheart. So we're going to play some role playing games together. My name's Ash. I use she her pronouns, and I used to stream a lot of role playing games, and I don't do it very much anymore. And so I was very excited to try and get together some cool people to play some role playing games and play them deeply and weirdly, and to maybe talk about them a little bit as we're playing them and what the mechanics are doing and things like that, just to kind of interrogate the game a little bit as a part of playing. So I think we can probably do some introductions. Shall we go alphabetical?
Which I guess means I'm first. Okay. Well, hi, I'm Andrew. I'm a tabletop role-playing game designer and a longtime participant in the hobby. And yeah, I'm an old friend of Ash's. That's why I'm here.
I'm very excited to have you. Andrew, you didn't shout out your. You got to shout it out. Like
I have to plug directly.
You have to plug at the
I have
top
to
and
reach
bottom. I'm
off
sorry.
camera and pull out.
You gotta
Girl by
hustle.
Moonlight.
We gotta do the hustle.
Buy Girl by Moonlight right now. Buy several copies.
Good. Wonderful.
Magical Girl role-playing game that I wrote.
Yes. Hell yeah. Josh, welcome.
How about is it?
There we go.
Yeah, it turns out when you have the microphone muted, it doesn't work. My name's Josh. I run Intelligame, and we make connections between games in the real world. I've been on stream hiatus for the past couple of months, working on some projects for Game Devs of Color Expo and a couple other things that I can't quite talk about yet. Oh, though, actually, this one I can talk about. I'm going to be doing some work for Lancer Tactics, which is a video game version of Lancer, which I'm excited about. But anyway, I am excited to do some tabletop and to play some Apocalypse World. I'm definitely the rustiest, the greenest of the tabletop RPG crew. So I'm excited to have some good experienced folks to help me learn and have some good discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the thing that is great is having you here as someone who is very well versed in like games discussion, but like coming into tabletop, because the other three of us are like deep theory nerds around role playing stuff. So like the chances that we start talking absolute nonsense is pretty high, and I'm glad that we've got someone here to be like, what does that mean? Like, also, what are you talking about? Because yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I very much will do all of those things. Yeah, y'all already know my penchant for talk is quite high. So
Yes.
Hopefully we'll still get to play some game every so often.
I think
we'll squeeze it in when we can. Yeah,
we'll give it our best shot.
Also, hello in the chat. I just want to say thank you. Somebody was like, "Is that Josh of Intelligame?" And I'm like, "Yes," but I can't type in the chat because I need another 24 minutes of follow time. So yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
You should be able to type in the. Oh no, that'll come out. Yeah, okay. Yeah, You need the because we have the follow
Probationary
limit
period.
on. Yeah,
That's okay. I'm gonna
to prove
do my
yourself as a
civic duty.
important and a trustworthy member of the community. Sidney, hi.
Hello. Hey, Ash. Pleasure to see you. I'm Sidney. My name's Sidney Icarus. My pronouns are they, them. I have for a long time introduced myself as an RPG designer and descriptivist. I think probably when Ash says we're all deep theory nerds here, that is pointed at me at the end of a very sharp stick. I ran a podcast for a year, which was like, how deeply can we look into simple powered by the apocalypse moves? That was called The Hard Move, and it was a lot of fun, and I recommend it. So this is a great chance for me to kind of get back to my roots in play and like explore some stuff. Josh, we're new friends. I'm very excited to talk to you during this game. I'm very excited to talk to you later about IntelliGame. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. All right. So with that, without further ado, then I think we can probably start talking about playing a game. So today we're playing session 0 of Apocalypse World, which is an amazing pace by Josh.
We just got 20 gift subs.
Holy shit!
Oh.
I can't. We got one.
Yeah, we just did
RNG
World. Yeah.
Wow, 20 gift subs, amazing.
Joe.
I only have one monitor because I wrecked my setup earlier. So I will need to be, and also it doesn't come up in StreamYard. That's weird. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I haven't heard back from Sean about which causes are currently being supported. But all of the proceeds from subs, from bits, from any of those sorts of things are all going to charitable causes. So that's part of the reason that I wanted to stream on this channel specifically, because I love that this channel has become a place where it's a community of people playing games on stream together and also supporting things. So absolutely, thank you so much for that, for those gift subs. That's amazing.
I will always be in love with actual play's focus on play as a community experience rather than like play as celebrity. And hopefully
absolutely.
We can reinforce that today. Yeah,
I was really one of the things that I like about, so we're using this software called StreamYard for streaming, and I was like, I like the fact that it surfaces the chat really nicely, so that I can, but doesn't surface the shout outs in that way. But but let's talk about Apocalypse World, because I think it's because it's such a huge game. It is arguably the cornerstone for the modern story game tradition, at least large chunks of it. Specifically, like you have your like PBTA babies, and then technically, if Blades is also PBTA,
there's a lineage there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I'm curious to see if Wildsea, that is like branching off of Blades, ends up with a lineage, because it has a lot of the things in there that I think make for a good like space for other designers to jump off into things. But yeah, Apocalypse World. We're going to be playing the second edition, and this is the game that changed the way that I view, I think, not only RPGs but also like game design in general, because it's the thing that took me away from the idea that a game is a thing that simulates a world into a thing that it's a game that creates an experience, a story, a thing that is not necessarily about just winning or losing. It's about having a certain kind of experience. So for me, it's been incredibly important like that. It is a PBTA game. We're going to go through and we're going to have a little chat about our apocalypse. What does our world for this game look like? We're going to do some character creation, and we're going to do a little bit of role play just to find out what it's like to be our characters. We are using Roll20 for managing our character sheets and things like that. I'll bring that up when we're rolling and things like that. But to start with, does anyone have any particular like apocalypses that they're really feeling right now? Are there any, like, because I often like to go with like, what is there too much of or what is there too little of? But also there are so many like really nice media touchstones for different apocalypses. And so I'm wondering if anyone's like being like, oh, you know what, actually I really want to play a such and such, right? Like I've recently watched this film and really liked that kind of exploration of like social collapse or civilizational collapse under certain conditions.
I wish it was a film. It's just the news. I just,
Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes.
it's great in real time. I will admit, I haven't watched all of it yet, so I'm not sure how this goes, and I also think it kind of is a perhaps a looser definition of apocalypse. But the new Gundam series, Requiem for Vengeance, it's essentially supposed to be, I think, like the Xeon take on what it means when the first mobile suit shows up and is like, oh, we can't do anything about this, and now all of our stuff is messed up. There's I think I have a soft spot for big punchy robots, so there is that. But I also think there is just something about the nature of like what happens when it's not the whole world has irrevocably changed, but your whole world has irrevocably changed. And how I think that feels especially socially relevant right now, as we have so many spaces where we can see, especially for those of us who are privileged enough to be watching many of these things from our screens as opposed to living them out in real time. Like, the apocalypse is happening for millions of people around the globe, and yet there also is this element of like a bunch of us are just on the other side of this digital divide where that has not happened yet, or not to that extent. So yeah, let me complicate things right off the bat, but I think something like that, where there's a thing that we're going through, it's serious, it's world changing, but also out there somewhere there are some folks perhaps with power who, with influence, for whom it is not the same, and trying to figure out how to reach across that divide is part of the struggle.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, the idea that there is actually a not fucked part of the world is a really interesting, because it's often portrayed as fictional, right? It's often a myth in these sorts of things, and I like the idea of like making the like us collectively knowing that that the not the entire world is like this. It does like put an interesting spin on it. What are other people thinking about?
Well, I can't help but notice Sidney's background.
We've got two Australians on the show, so it pushes it in a certain direction.
Yeah, there's always that potential, that latent potential. But is this a statement of intent, Sidney, or
no? I wanna riff off what Josh said, which I find really interesting, because for those who aren't familiar with Apocalypse World, in text there are kind of like two things, and like for those in our beautiful audience that are unfamiliar with Apocalypse World, there are two things in the text that are really clear. One is that like the world is constantly changing. The line it uses is there are no status quos, and we as like characters are empowered to be, or we as players are empowered to be the catalyst for that change. And the other thing is that like hope is something that you're allowed to have, that the game gives you absolutely no mechanisms to like achieve or realize or make real. And so I've never touched on it, but there is like this extended playbook with like the landfall marine, like all these things, this idea that like we turn the earth to dust, and the all the rich, or however you want to stratify people, went to Mars or space or whatever, and like have continued kind of living out this life while we struggle in scarcity, is actually kind of cool, and I'm super into it. I don't have a strong attachment to what the collapse of Earth looks like there, whether it's like hot or cold or wet, the three apocalypses, desert, ice, and waterworld. So I don't like have a strong attachment to a specific like aesthetic, but I do love this idea of filling us with hope that we might one day reach across the divide into abundance, and the game giving us zero tools to achieve that at all.
Yeah. Although maybe we can just go there and burn it down, that's also an option. We're better equipped to do that in Apocalypse World, I would say, than...
That's very true. The option to burn things down is definitely there.
It's a strong option. Yeah, in terms of aesthetics, I am looking out my window right now. There is what is called an atmospheric river happening in my part of the world, which is basically just a lot of water in the sky that then becomes on the ground very rapidly. So a wet apocalypse is unfolding before me, and I would prefer to skew dry or cold, given the three that Sidney just offered forward.
Given that Sidney is in Toronto?
Yeah.
And I'm in Stockholm, and we're both Australians, I would absolutely love to do not a cold setting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm absolutely
Hot
down
it is
with
then.
a traditional like desert scarred Mad Max kind of place, especially if it has that extra character of the idea of the green place, or that civilization still exists somewhere out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the original Mad Max, like the original Mad Max is not post-apocalyptic, right? The original Mad Max is mid-apocalyptic, where like all of the like main events are happening in like while the thing is falling down, and the main character just happens to exist at the edge of. I mean, he's a fucking cop, right? Like he is the enforcer at the border of at the edge of the world. That then he gets pushed too far. But yeah, the idea that like that maybe the world is still collapsing elsewhere and not fully collapsed. Maybe they have like shored up and been like, this is where the apocalypse stops, so we've put a wall there or something.
Yeah, they've managed to delay at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a cool idea. I think we do have to recognize that the psychic maelstrom is a mechanic and exists. So that is so like, but I kind of like. Do we want to answer any of that question at the moment, or do we want to leave it open?
My opinion is that is best figured out during play, especially because we are going to pick character playbooks, and those playbooks kind of offer like a portfolio of, like, you're not necessarily directly responsible for authoring those things, but you're in a better position to have input or speak, right? So if we get a brainer or the cult leader or these kinds of things, those characters are deeply connected to the psychic maelstrom, and their interactions with it are going to, characterize it, give it some.
I think the thing I was maybe setting up then is the idea that if someone is picking those like heavily psychic maelstrom connected classes, there's going to be some interesting questions around like the psychic maelstrom and the rest of the world that lives, right? So I think there
As
will
there
be
should be.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Is the world? Are we in a desert because of lack of any water? Are we in a desert because of lack of clean water? Are we in a desert that is? Did nature recede from this place by us using up all the water, or was nature pushed out through warfare and things like that?
Yeah, could it have been some kind of extreme defoliant chemical warfare type of situation where this landscape has been blasted through human, action and influence upon it rather than just like that slower erosion? It was like a very sudden and deep kind of hit.
So it's like there are I have this image from my childhood of like patches of bush where the salt has risen up underneath it, and so you just have these huge forests of dead trees that are like black dead trees with white salt underneath. So it's not a desert that is devoid of that has always been devoid of plant life. It's just that all of it's dead. Is an interesting.
Sounds cool and spooky to me. Yeah, that's a really chilling image.
Yeah,
there are all kinds of things that occur naturally that are really ghastly, like that lake or whatever that has the alkalinity or whatever to it that it just like eats things up, and you'll see like the remains of a bird that are like its silhouette is intact, but it has been basically like petrified by this chemical process. There's all kinds of weird things that can happen, and those are really fun to lean into in a like weird apocalypse.
Cool, awesome. Is there anything else anyone wants to throw into the mix here? My brain's automatically making this connection now that like that like this defoliant thing was in some way connected to like a war that was fought here by giant robots.
Well, yeah, and I loved Joss's suggestion of this framing thing, and I was gonna chime in with like, and that war still ongoing? Maybe is that like a thing that is happening in the very distant background of what we're doing? Of like, there's a stalemate, or there's there are conflict zones or something like that, and we're caught in between or on the outside of that, perhaps.
I love the idea of the stalemate that has been going on so long that like the characters and the people in their immediate vicinity are not like it's kind of faded into the background of like, it's not like we expected it to start up again tomorrow because it's been
quiet for
40
so
years, 50 years or something like that, like where the first generation very far into, or maybe the second generation of this stalemate, and it's one of those things that like persists more through folkways and fairy tales than it does through like its effects on your day-to-day life.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming that whatever this defoliant is, it creates a bunch of weird mutations in any living things that don't. It doesn't.
Why not?
Like,
right? Yeah, sure.
Like, just because we love a little bit of weird sci-fi, sort of.
Let's get that in there. Yeah.
But that does bring me to the next thing I wanted to hit before we get into actual character creation. I have a penchant for body horror, and I wanted I have a tendency to like fall into it accidentally. So I wanted to do lines and veils. I wanted to do what are the things that players either don't want to see at all, or if it exists, that they don't want to exist in the world, or if it exists in the world, it's off camera. That's because like if someone's like, I can't handle body horror, then that's cool. I'm gonna have to make sure I get that in check.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay with body horror. I think I might be. I think if there's a direct racism, I think I'd be cool with that being off camera as opposed to playing out the scene.
Yeah.
That'd probably be my initial call.
Cool. Wonderful. I'm not particularly interested in, like, it's not my, I don't tend to be telling those stories
That's
myself.
not fun necessarily for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a similar vein, I don't really need a story that includes like transphobia or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We deal with that in the real world, and it's not something I want to explore in this game. And so I'm happy to just put that out of the picture.
Yep. I think let's take that. I'm going to just take that off out of the world in general.
Yeah. Let us be a bunch of weird freaks and with weird genders out in the desert, and it'll be good.
100%. I'm going to put sexual violence at least in the off screen. I think that sometimes there is a thing where like the threat of it is a thing that is a thing that the game sometimes leads you towards. I don't know. There's but I want to at least off screen it.
Yes, that works for me.
Yep.
Cool. And I think the other one for me is people don't hurt kids in this world. They just don't do that.
Okay.
Cool.
That was going to be my question. Because it is always a thing that comes up.
Yeah, some classic lines that exist with good reason.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And like, given the reason that I always make sure I bring it up in before we do character creation is that either someone might choose the child thing, or they might choose like a heart holder or a hocus.
Someone who has kids or is a kid, or the first time I played this game back in it was like the playtest for the first version or something, I made this character who was a chopper, and they were a kid, and their gang was all kids on motorbikes, and it was extremely horrific. And I've gotten all that out of my system. I never need to do that again. And
sure, that was an experience that you had.
It was very dark and very messed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's not do that.
Cool. All right. Any others?
No, I'm pretty content to with what's been said, and I'm also pretty content to hold my own boundaries throughout play. I imagine you're all familiar with ideas like X cards or stops.
Yep. So my X card for on screen is to hold palm to camera.
Sure.
So this is if your palm and hand are between the camera and your face, I'm taking that as an X card.
Which, just to be clear, means that we stop the game. We talk about the thing that caused the need to stop the game, and we figure out whatever we need to figure out, and then resume play.
Yep. You don't have to explain yourself if you don't want to. If you would like to avoid coming up again in future, then you can also do that in whatever words or ways of communicating that feel right for you. Cool. The other one is all four of us are welcome to mute and turn off cameras if we need to. If you need to take your space, if you need to go, if two other people are in the middle of a really intense scene and you need to go grab water or something, that's also fine. But we will be taking a break halfway through as well. Sick. All right. In that case, we are looking at a defoliant a military defoliant induced desert apocalypse. And I think we should look at some playbooks.
Great.
Does anyone have anything? I think first off, Josh, is there any like as the newbie, is there a playbook that you were like, I have to play that, or do you want to let the others kind of like talk through their choices and you can build off of that?
I think I'd rather do the latter. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Damn.
All right, veterans.
All right, Sidney, you and I get to duke it out here.
Yeah. Ash, have you limited this in any way? Are you restricting any of the extended versions? Are you not interested?
I think
in
for
any
the
of
extended
basic
playbooks, let's
ones?
talk about it. But I'm open to them. I wanna same as like if you like just so that I can get on the same page and make sure that the world is responding appropriately.
Yeah, rad.
I think maybe don't do something that requires me to know too much about the outside world.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew, do you have a methodology in how you decide on a playbook?
Well, yeah. So I was thinking about this ahead of playing, and there are a bunch of ways that you can kind of divide up these playbooks in terms of like the themes that they're about or the ways that they play. And I think one of the really big important ones up front is that there are characters with really strong attachments, and there are characters who have no attachments. And the dynamics for those are very, very different, right? Like a hard holder versus a gun lugger, it's a very different experience of like characters who are trying to hold on to stuff and characters who are trying to take stuff is maybe another way to talk about it. And so deciding whether or not we want to lean into one side or the other of that paradigm, I think is pretty helpful, right? Like if we have a hard holder, there's a location that we're attached to. If someone is the driver, there's like vehicles matter and travel matters. You know, there are certain playbooks that kind of set the tone and certain ones that have like things that they're trying to keep and preserve versus ones that are really good at just like fucking things up. And, you know, maybe that's a good place to start in terms of cleaving one way or the other. If anyone's like interested in a certain style of play.
Yeah, the classic conflict is someone picks a hard holder who wants to stay in one location and centralize their power, and someone picks a driver who wants to like go new places and meet new people and like externalize their power. And you know, both are cool, and the conflict between them can also be cool. But it's one of those,
we want to make sure that we as players aren't in conflict, right?
Spot on. I really love the feeling that we are, for some reason, stuck in a place. Because if the idea is that there is goodness out there, then the initial question is like, well, then why aren't we there? Why aren't we going there? And I love the idea that we are like stuck or trapped or lack the resources to do the thing. This is like, you know, you can't cross the dirt sea, or you know, no one who's ever spent more than 3 days outside the wire has ever come back alive, or like that sort of stuff. Does that vibe with anyone, or more importantly, does that?
Yeah, I think that really that trappedness really vibes with the idea that we're talking about of our world as an apocalypse. Not necessarily everyone's.
Mm-hmm. There's something maintaining,
and that our world has borders.
Yeah. No, that rings true for me.
Well, cool.
I like it.
So I'm just bringing up for chat's benefit. So the list of different options that we're looking at are the Battle Babe, who is sexy and dangerous, the Angel, who is one of the few people in the world who can actually restore, the Breener, who is the psychic weirdo who can get in people's heads, and then oh my goodness, why is my
there's also the Chopper, who is has a biker gang. There is a driver who has a vehicle of some kind and is able to move around. There's the gun lugger who lugs guns and shoots people with them. There is the hard holder who has some kind of settlement, compound, fortress, whatever that they are in charge of, and there's like a whole set of people also who live there that they are responsible for. There's the hocus, who is a cult leader and has a cult that they are responsible to. There's the Maestro D, who has a venue, a bar, a restaurant, a tavern, whatever, in something like that, that they take care of. There's the Savvy Head, who is a tinkerer, builder, repairer of things, who has a workshop potentially, and gets into also some like psychic stuff, but more about like the material considerations rather than messing with people. And there is the Skinner, who is the only remaining locus of actual beauty and culture in the apocalypse, basically.
Did you have a thought there, Sidney?
So I there is an ongoing conversation with some people about how one of the things the Savvy Head brings is that they are they're a fixer of things, and also very good at like supporting other players in terms of, you know, offering them advice or instruction or whatever. And just the vibe of like, oh, this is post-war. There's like, you know, the carcasses of war machines where they're like, you know, giant robots or the Wild Wild West spider or a tank or something like that. And just like the contextual difference between, oh, I'm a savvy head who like looks at microwaves or who can work on guns, and oh, I'm a savvy head who like has a tank in my workshop is like a really different vibe, and not one that like I haven't touched on with savvy head before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a pretty the thing we have described is a very fruitful space for a savvy head to mess around with stuff, because there's this promise of like big machines and dangerous stuff that they can get involved in.
Yeah.
So are you the savvy head?
I think like cards on the table, I would love to play something I haven't played before and look at it in a different lens, just because I think this is such a like high quality play group, and so it gives me an opportunity to like not just say the obvious thing, but also like maybe go a step further. Which, don't get me wrong, Apocalypse World, you say the obvious thing where you're a gun lugger who lugs guns and you solve problems by lugging a gun into it is amazing.
The direct line is a good one to take in this game.
Yeah.
Yes, and you will be rewarded for it.
But I think I would be really interested to play either like a motivated savvy head in this space, or the other one I haven't played that goes against a lot of my like play defaults is the hocus. And given that we haven't defined anything about the psychic part of this or the cult like part of this, that is also a very fruitful place.
I think those are both, you knowing me as a GM, those are both going to be things where I'm going to get the wrench in either of those. So
yeah. I think I've got a clearer vibe. Like the hocus is me being like, oh, this would be a fun space to like play in and explore. But I think I've got a pretty clear vibe of like the kind of savvy head that I would.
Seems like that was really coming to you very strongly.
Yeah.
So
I think go with that.
I think I'll do it. Yeah. All right.
All right. So we've got a savvy head. Well, how do I nicely contrast this and play off of it?
I was just thinking, like, when we were talking about, and this is just like we were talking about, like the ones that have like that are trying to hold on to, and the ones that are trying to take. I think it's interesting that Savvy Head and the Angel are the two that are capable of any kind of repair.
Mm-hmm.
How it makes me wonder, because it feels like if you had a savvy head, an angel, and a hard holder, like it would be this. It feels like this strange Apocalypse World version of like a hospital or a medic station. Like a place where there's like there is a centralized good, like a good being done, not a good being a resource, but like the idea that it sounds like it would also be in a context where it's only existing because of a certain type of control, a certain type of the whether it's the hocus, manipulating a group of folks on the outside. Like I could imagine there being this, like the reason folks don't leave is because like there's too many people that we actually give a shit about who cannot leave. But also in the midst of all of this chaos, here is the system that is being maintained to
There's some degree
This
of
is
stability, and
wonderfully hopeful and optimistic view of something that will turn super toxic the moment
Well,
it starts flowing.
exactly.
Yeah, the other important thing, right, is we all stake out this claim of like, here's all the good stuff we have, and then it's Ash's job to be like, this thing breaks, these people die, people come and take this thing. Like we set ourselves up to have this dynamic.
Like, also, here are all the ways in which you're bad people.
Well, and yeah, here's all
Exactly.
the violence that has built that up, which I think is part of what Joss was implying as well, right? So,
Yeah. Because
so
I want to clarify something very quickly before we move on, which is my personal bugbear about the way we talk about Apocalypse World, right? Which is with love. The Savvy Head and the Angel are not the only two playbooks who can repair things or who can make the world better. They're the only two playbooks that are given a mechanical piece of leverage in order to say,
Absolutely.
like I do.
Yeah.
The dangled carrot in front of everyone is like, you can make the world better. It's just that the only way that you can overpower the MC in this is when you're shooting someone. Can you shoot the world better? And like that's this thing that like is there. Any playbook can go in any direction, or is welcome to engage with any facet.
It's like there's a version of the hocus, right, which is absolutely the like genuinely like well-intentioned cult leader who's like, like, let's make the world better. There's a version of the brainer that tries to that is like, I can fix people.
It's like a
right?
therapist,
Like
a well-intentioned, unregistered therapist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're just not given good tools for doing good, even if our
Yeah.
intentions are good.
Which I think creates some of the texture that I love about the game.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, so if we really want to put down roots, which is some of what I'm hearing, like I'm tempted to play a hard holder then, but I don't know if I can be trusted with that.
So I have a theory about Apocalypse World that I've been calling small towns, which is that like all of these things are going to be around in the world. Just but like if you are not the hard holder, someone else is going to be.
Yeah.
Do you it's either your responsibility or it's your problem, or it's someone else becomes the problem through it. Yeah.
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to be a gun lugger.
Sick.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to shoot the world better. I'm going to prove Sidney wrong.
Wonderful. Shoot the world better isn't
Please do.
excellent. I
Also,
love
the
that.
potential for weird guns that I pry off of fallen war machines.
Oh yeah, of course, right? Because we're in a war
zone or a former war zone.
A fallen war zone. Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Cool. All right. Having had a bit of a heard some of that discussion, Josh, where are you feeling? What's are you having broad thoughts or specific ones?
I will admit there so I feel conflict in two different ways. One is that with this being a newer experience for me, I don't want to I'm trying to figure out like what's a role where I can be pretty good at like taking some cues, learning some spaces, stretch my legs a little bit, but also like I don't want to drive the bus into a cliff, or drive my bus into a cliff. But there also is this part of me that's like, I think there's an interesting division between like, if we have, you're right. If there's not a hard holder, the hard holder will be the problem. But there's also a part of me that's like, it would be kind of cool to, in the world where the hard holder is present, to be the Maestro D. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, to be like
absolutely.
one step
would.
under in
Correct.
the responsibility tree.
The
Yeah.
Maestro D is a
Mhm.
great yeah, absolutely, because it is the you get to be in conflict with the hard holder, but also be like to a certain degree be the lesser.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, you're like your own little tyrant
Yeah.
of your
Yeah.
space.
And
Yeah.
you just get brought into things as
Yes.
Master D2. People come to you and are like, hey, like you're now involved because I need you to be involved.
Yep.
It's become-
Hospitality job in the post-apocalypse.
And I think it would be interesting to try and make a space where yeah, it's smaller scale conflict. My first instinct, as anybody who's ever watched Intelligame stuff, my first instinct is to go super macro. These are all of the systemic ties that like put all of these things together. So I think having something that is a little bit more micro, a little bit more like, it's this organization, it's this block, it's this group of people could be kind of interesting to explore.
And the Maestro D also gives you something to lose, which is a really useful like cue for you in role playing, because you can be like, oh, like it gives me the opportunity to threaten it and for you to respond. So
cool.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'll go then.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me make sure that I have assigned your sheets in Roll20. Character for Josh. And they need to be in everyone's journals and edited by. There we go. I've used software before. Let me.
Lovely.
All players can be edited by Andrew. All players can be edited by Josh. Cool. So if we're using the Roll20 sheet, the way that you use this particular one is you select the playbook and then you lock playbook, and it should give you it should start to work properly.
Oh, lock.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Clever. Okay.
Cool.
I'm locked in. I'm Gunlugger.
All right. Should we take our break here then, and then we can jump in and actually start doing some of the construction?
Sure. Yeah.
All right,
Sure thing.
It's a good part
Cool.
to pause.
All right. Let me do.
I'm very excited. Just quietly. This is.
I'm already hype. I'm
Yeah,
already.
I
hype.
said this a bunch during the hard move, but Apocalypse World is a game that I feel like I have this complete wrap on. Like I feel like I understand it better than any game I've played. And then I touch it again, and I'm like, oh no, here's this whole different lens. Here's this whole new way of playing it.
Yep, 100%. All right, we're going to take 10, so we'll be back at the quarter hour. See you in a minute.